How did a nice young man from Daly City come to be part of a film called Viewer Discretion Advised about addiction to porn? We're going to find out by talking to our next guest, Emmanuel Romero. Emmanuel, welcome.
Hi.
So tell us that story. How did a guy from Daly City come to write this film?
There were a lot of different things that inspired the story behind the movie. It was news clips that I watched, it was music that I was listening to, it was books that I was reading. But one of the things that had inspired this story in particular was just this idea. I think that gay couples and heterosexual couples are all the same in that no one enters into a relationship as a blank slate. You know, they're always going to have baggage that they bring with them, whether it's history with their family, it's their past relationships, it's their vices. You know, all of that people bring to the table with them. And I think one question is, are you going to let those things stand in the way of something good that you have in front of you?
Mm-hmm. And where would you consider addiction to porn on that? Is that baggage? Is that a vice? Is that something good that's brought to a relationship?
It depends on where you are in communicating that with your partner. Doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing.
Yeah. Now, do you think this movie is going to be pegged as the film about porn addiction? And if that's true, do you think there is such a thing?
I think people will peg this as a movie that
not what you think.
they did not see the surprise coming. And as far as whether an addiction is a good thing or a bad thing, it depends on, does it keep you from living your life? And does it keep you from interacting with people the way that you should in order to maintain a healthy relationship?
Right. Well, I mean, in a sense, this movie could be made about gamers' addiction. I remember there was that famous episode of South Park.
I'm sorry.
What?
The movie is not about porn addiction.
Then tell me what you, in your words, think it is, because that's how people described it to me. Because people have described the movie to me that way. Tell me what you think the movie's about.
I think the movie is about two people at a point where they don't know if their relationship with each other is going to be the fun and casual type, or whether they're ready for something more serious and committed. And then finding out that a problem they thought they had put behind them isn't really resolved, and has always been there.
Now, you said at the beginning of this interview that you didn't think there was any difference between how LGBT couples or heterosexual couples deal with this baggage they bring into a relationship.
Well, as far as bringing in the baggage, yes, I think gay couples and heterosexual couples are the same. But I also think that gay couples, same-sex couples, are going to be different in that they have to deal with the added pressure of not having their relationship recognized and revered in the same way that heterosexual couples are regarded. And so, you know, on top of having to deal with, you know, your boyfriend's problems and how that's interfering with your relationship, you also have to deal with, you know, the government making things difficult as far as your legal rights.
And do you think that even nowadays, in a time when we have 5 states that have legalized same-sex marriage. I mean, I'm married here in California to my husband because I took advantage of a 3-month window. If we lived in Spain, where he was from, I'd be legally married. And 5 countries in Europe. In a time when people feel that maybe we're getting to the tipping point, that these sort of concepts of the differences between same-sex couples and different-sex couples still are out there. I mean, they have the impact on young people as much as they did when I was your age. Do you think that's true?
What's important about the legal recognition and the respect and regard afforded to same-sex couples is that younger people will get an idea that they can have a loving, monogamous relationship if that's what they want, just like everyone else. But as far as people who are actually in the situation of trying to have their relationship recognized by the government, I think there's still a lot of that gray area that really has that can sort of have a visceral impact, in that, you know, you're married in California, your marriage is legal in California,
Right.
but what if one of you gets a job in another state,
Right.
where your marriage isn't going to be legalized? Your marriage isn't going to be legally recognized by the state. It's not going to be recognized by the federal government. It still isn't, which hopefully is on the path to changing. I mean, the Senate Judiciary Committee just set into motion an attempt to repeal the Defense of Marriage Act, which is promising, but
will probably take years.
We'll see.
Yeah.
This administration, these lawmakers that we have running the country.
So now tell us, I know you don't want to talk about the end of the film because there's a surprise there, but take us through the film, the people we meet, the characters we meet, and what are we going to see? Who are we going to meet in this film?
So Jerry and Vince are two lovers, and they're at a point in their relationship where, you know, it's probably going to transition in between, you know, going from fun and lighthearted and casual to being something more serious and committed. And so this is date night for Jerry and Vince. Nothing really fancy. Dinner and a movie. You know, pop in a couple of Gina Gershon movies. Have fun. Except on this particular night, Vince discovers that a problem that Jerry had, a past addiction, a vice, that they thought they had put behind them, has actually always been there, is still there, and is going to hold him back from taking...
And so this may be his tipping point. He has to decide whether or not he's going to go forward with this relationship or end it that night. Exactly. And how much of this is based on personal experience that you've had?
There were... I mean, I've had several past relationships up to the point where I wrote this script. The dynamics going on between Jerry and Vince, I probably worked in one or two past relationships in there. Which ones, I don't know, or I'm mentally blocking myself from acknowledging which ones. But there is some of me in there, and there's also things that I've witnessed in other people's relationships in there also.
In our last few moments, tell me where people can see this film, viewer discretion advised.
So we are on the film festival circuit. If people want to find out more about where our next appearance is, they can go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/VDA-tape96. You go there, like our page, you can see where we are on the festival circuit, what our next screening date is. You can see fun behind the scenes.
Right, right. And so we might see this in Frameline here in Northern California.
We'll see. We've got our fingers crossed. We're submitting to a lot of different film festivals.
Great. Well, thanks for talking to us. We look forward to seeing viewer discretion advised. Next up, we look forward to you seeing our interview with John Cunningham from the National AIDS Memorial Grove. We'll be right back.